Born into the rocky foothills bordering Ikathia, Taliyah and her family didn't see their home as a barren desert, but rather as a rich and beautiful landscape filled with all the hues and colors of the earth. As a child, Taliyah would collect colorful rocks, and as she grew older, it seemed as if the very earth became infatuated with her, arcing and twisting as if to follow her tracks through the sand. About the time of her 7th summer, a young goatling in her charge wandered off from the tribe, and Taliyah followed after it.
My father always said I was a shepherd's nightmare.
Determined not to disappoint her father, the ever-masterful shepherd, she tracked the animal through the night to a small box canyon, where it had found itself stuck high upon the rock wall, unable to climb down. The sandstone in the wall called to her, and Taliyah answered by laying a tentative palm against the rock. Elemental power flowed through her, like a torrent of a monsoon rain. Opening herself to it, the stone leapt to her fingertips, bringing the canyon wall and the beast down on her. 2 days later, Taliyah awoke from fevered dreams to find that her father had come looking for her and brought her back to the village. Here in Baba John's tent, she began to tell her parents of the night in the canyon and how the rock called to her. Baba John insisted that she was protected by the Great Weaver and the protector of the village. Seeing the worry on her parents' face, Taliyah decided to conceal the truth that she, not the Great Weaver, had pulled the stone.
The Great Weaver protects me.
She managed to keep that secret until it came time for her to dance under the full moon. It was a ceremony performed by the village, meant to tell the children how they would serve the village as adults. Standing in the circle under the moon, Taliyah tried to focus on the tools around her, the shepherd's crook, the spindle, and the loom, all tools of her people. However, as she began to move, her body started to writhe to the rhythm of the distant rocks and sands that called to her. Elemental power began to flow through her uncontrollably, as she began to weave stone, not thread. The startled cries of the villagers brought Taliyah out of her trance, as the sharp pillars of rock she had weaved and pierced the sky with crumbled to the ground. Seeing the destruction she had woven, and the alarmed looks on the villagers' faces justified Taliyah's fears. She knew in that moment that this power and her presence here was a threat to the people she cared about most in the world. She darted off and ran into the night, the very ground trembling beneath her feet. It was her father who found her again in the desert. He hugged her tightly in the light of the rising sun, as she confessed her secret through choked sobs. Sweeping her up in his arms, he carried her back to the village, while telling her of the importance of not running from the Weaver's gift. Returning to the tribe, Taliyah entered the dancer's circle once again, this time weaving a beautiful array of stone, each color and texture a memory of her people. When it was over, the tribe sat in pure awe.
Every stone weaves a different story.
As was tradition, someone would have to rise to become Taliyah's mentor. First her father, followed by the entire village standing to their feet. Even surrounded by their love, Taliyah could sense the worry of her people. None among them could teach her to control the elemental magic that coursed through her. Taliyah needed a teacher. Though it pained her and her family, Taliyah set off into the world alone in search of that teacher, traveling the world until she found herself in the mountain peaks of Targan. It was there she finally met a teacher, a man whose blade harnessed the power of the wind itself. Yasuo was someone who truly understood the elements and the need for balance. She trained with him a long time before finally coming to find the control she so desperately sought. Before she left, Yasuo gifted her with the same maple seed that his brother Yon had once gifted him.
Master Yasuo, our paths have woven together for a reason.
Hearing a terrifying rumor, Taliyah would return home to the sand-swept dunes of Shurima. As the golden rays of the sun beat down on her, Taliyah pushed further into the desert, determined to find her people. Hers was a will made of stone, and she would do whatever necessary to protect her family and village from the looming threat of the resurrected emperor and would-be god.
I've given up too much to let you stop me. We have prospered without you. Remember, there is stone beneath your sand.